In the heart of a small village, a betrayed friendship and a dangerous quest for gold lead to a heart-wrenching journey of redemption, forgiveness, and the true meaning of loyalty. The small village of Ilorin bathed in the golden glow of sunset as Ishat watched her childhood friend, Jennifer, skillfully weave a basket despite her blindness. Their friendship had blossomed over 15 years ago when Ishat first guided a young Jennifer home after she lost her sight to a childhood illness. Since then, their bond had grown as steady as the ancient baobab tree that stood at the village center. Jennifer's fingers moved with practiced grace over the reeds, her unseeing eyes focused on nothing and everything at once. Ishat, she called out, her voice carrying the warmth of countless shared secrets, come feel how smooth this weaving is. The market women will surely pay well for this one. Ishat moved closer, her heart heavy with an unfamiliar weight. Earlier that day, she had overheard whispers of a wealthy merchant from the city who paid handsomely for unique treasures, and in some circles, people with special abilities were considered the most precious treasures of all. The marketplace buzzed with activity as Ishat made her way through the crowded stalls, her mind racing with possibilities. The merchant's tent stood apart from the others, its rich fabrics and exotic wares speaking of wealth beyond her imagination. Inside, she found Babajid, the merchant whose reputation preceded him like a shadow at sunset. "Tell me more about your blind friend," he said, his voice smooth as honey but with an underlying edge that made Aishat's skin crawl. "I hear she has a gift for crafts despite her condition. Such talents are valuable to collectors." He placed a heavy pouch of gold on the table between them, the coins inside clinking with promise. "This could be yours, with more to come." Aishat's fingers trembled as she reached for the pouch, trying to ignore the voice in her head that screamed of betrayal. Ishat sat under the mango tree, rolling the heavy pouch of gold between her hands. She remembered the day she first met Jennifer. They were both 10 years old, and Jennifer had just lost her sight. The other children were scared to play with her, but not Ishat. "I'll be your eyes," she had promised, taking Jennifer's hand. They spent that whole summer playing together, with Ishat describing everything she saw, the red sunset, the yellow birds, and the white clouds that looked like sheep. Now, 15 years later, those memories made Aishat's stomach hurt. How could she even think about betraying such a sweet friend? But the gold in her hands whispered of new dresses, a bigger house, and all the things she had always wanted. She closed her eyes tight, trying to push away the guilt that was already growing inside her heart. The next morning, Ishat told Jennifer about a special market in the next village. "They say they love your baskets there," she lied, her voice shaking a little. "We can go tomorrow, and I'll help you sell them all." Jennifer's face lit up with joy. "Really? Oh, Ishat, you're always thinking of ways to help me." She hugged her friend tight, not knowing that each word was like a sharp needle in Aishat's heart. That night, Ishat couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Jennifer's trusting smile in her mind. Early the next morning, Ishat and Jennifer set out on their journey. Jennifer carried her best baskets, humming happily as they walked. She didn't notice that they were taking a different path, one that led to Babajid's compound instead of the market. Ishat kept talking about random things to hide her nervousness, describing flowers and birds that weren't really there. "The air smells different here," Jennifer said suddenly, stopping in her tracks. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Aishat's heart beat faster as she saw Babajid's gate ahead. Yes, we're almost there," she said quickly, pulling Jennifer along. "Trust me." Those two words, "trust me," tasted bitter in her mouth. Babajid was waiting at his compound with 4 strong men. Without warning, they surrounded Jennifer. "Ishat." Jennifer called out, her voice trembling with fear. "What's happening? Where are you?" Ishat stood frozen as the men took Jennifer's arms. She wanted to shout, to stop everything, but the heavy pouch of gold in her pocket kept her quiet. Boboji dropped 3 more pouches at her feet. "A fair trade," he said with a cruel smile. "Now leave." The last thing Aceheart heard as she ran away was Jennifer's voice, crying out her name in confusion and fear. That sound would haunt her forever. Aceheart ran all the way home with the gold, but it felt like heavy stones in her pockets. She threw the pouches on her bed and fell to her knees crying. The gold coins spilled everywhere, but they didn't look beautiful anymore. Each one seemed to show Jennifer's sad face. When night came, Aceheart couldn't sleep. She kept hearing Jennifer calling her name. The money she wanted so badly now made her feel sick. Outside her window, a night bird called sadly, as if it knew what she had done. The next day, the whole village was looking for Jennifer. Where could she have gone, people asked. She never goes anywhere alone. Jennifer's mother came to Aishat's house, tears in her eyes. "Please, Aceheart, you're her best friend. Do you know where my daughter is?" she begged. Aishat's throat felt dry as she lied, "We went to the market yesterday, but we got separated in the crowd." Each word felt like poison on her tongue. That night, she heard Jennifer's mother crying through the thin walls of her house. Meanwhile, Jennifer was locked in a small room at Bobojit's compound. The wealthy man had a cruel plan. He showed her off to his rich friends like a rare animal, making her weave baskets while they watched and praised her magical blind talents. But Jennifer was smarter than they thought. Every day, she counted her steps around the room, learned the guards' voices, and memorized when they brought her food. She might be blind, but her other senses were sharp as knives. Bobojit hosted a big party to show off his new treasure. Rich people from far away came to watch Jennifer weave. But instead of her usual beautiful patterns, Jennifer wove something special, a pattern that told the story of betrayal, using knots that her grandmother had taught her to make. An old woman in the crowd recognized the pattern's meaning. She frowned and whispered to herself, "This is not entertainment, this is a cry for help." Jennifer's mother burst through the door. "Where is my daughter?" she cried. "They say she's at Bobojit's compound." Aceheart fell to her knees, the guilt too heavy to bear. Through her tears, she told them everything. The village elders gathered under the big baobab tree to decide what to do. Some wanted to punish Aceheart right away, but the oldest elder raised his hand. "Two wrongs don't make a right," he said. "Aceheart must help us rescue Jennifer. That would be her chance to fix her terrible mistake." Aceheart pulled out all the gold Bobojit had given her. "Use this," she said. "Use it to help save Jennifer." For the first time since the betrayal, people looked at her with something other than anger. Mama Zainab came to the village to help make a plan. She knew Bobojit's compound well. "He has guards," she said, "but he also has a weakness. He loves to show off his wealth to important people." Together, they created a clever plan. They would pretend to be rich traders from a far-off land. Mama Zainab would lead them, wearing fine clothes bought with Bobojit's own gold. Aceheart would go too, but in disguise, because she had to face what she had done. While the village planned her rescue, Jennifer kept weaving her special messages. She added new patterns that told of hope and patience. She could sense that something was changing. The guards were talking about a big feast where important visitors would come from far away. Bobojit was too proud to notice that Jennifer smiled a little as she walked. She had learned long ago that pride makes people blind to things right in front of them. The rescue team got ready. Mama Zainab wore a fine blue dress with gold threads. 4 strong men from the village dressed as her guards. Aceheart wore a servant's clothes and covered her face with a veil. Her hands shook as she helped the others prepare. "What if Jennifer hates me forever?" she whispered to Mama Zainab. The old woman looked at her kindly. "That's not for you to decide," she said. Your job is to help make things right. The rest will come later. Babajid welcomed his important guest with a big feast. He bragged about all his treasures, saving his special blind weaver for last. When they entered Jennifer's room, Ishat had to grip her hands tight to keep from crying out. Jennifer sat there, thinner than before, but her back was straight and proud. Her fingers moved quickly over her latest basket. Even through her veil, Ishat could see the special pattern that meant help is coming. Mama Zainab moved closer to Jennifer's work. "Such skill," she said loudly. Then, very quietly, she whispered, "Your village is here. Be ready when you hear the owl call." Jennifer's fingers never stopped moving, but a tiny smile appeared on her face. Babajid was too busy bragging to notice this exchange. He started telling his guest how he discovered this amazing talent. Behind her veil, Ishat felt sick hearing him take credit for Jennifer's gift. That night, while Babajid and his men were still drunk from the feast, an owl called 3 times. It was actually Mama Zainab's grandson, giving the signal. The village men quietly took care of the guards while Mama Zainab kept Babajid distracted with stories. Ishat slipped away to Jennifer's room. Her heart pounding, she opened the door. "Jennifer," she whispered, "it's time to go home." Jennifer stood perfectly still. "I know your voice, Ishat," she said quietly. "I've been hearing it in my nightmares." The words hurt worse than any slap could have. But there wasn't time for long explanations. "I will accept any punishment later," Ishat said, "but now we must run." She reached for Jennifer's hand, remembering all the times she had guided her friend. This time, Jennifer hesitated before taking it. They almost made it to the gate when someone raised the alarm. Babajid's angry voice boomed across the compound. "Stop them! Catch my weaver!" His men started chasing them with torches and sticks. The village men fought back, creating chaos. In the confusion, Mama Zainab led the girls through a secret path she had discovered. Behind them, they could hear Babajid screaming in rage. They walked all night through the forest. Jennifer didn't say a word to Ishat, but she didn't let go of her hand either. The silence felt heavier than all the gold that had caused this trouble. When morning came, they could see their village in the distance. Jennifer stopped walking. "Before we go back," she said, "I need to know why. Why did you sell me, Ishat?" Ishat fell to her knees, all her guilt pouring out like a river. She told Jennifer everything, about her greed, her shame, and her regret. She pulled out the remaining gold coins and threw them away into the bushes. "I was wrong," she cried. "I forgot that friendship is worth more than all the gold in the world. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right, even if you never forgive me." The whole village waited at the edge of town. When they saw Jennifer, they rushed forward with cries of joy. Her mother hugged her so tight it seemed she would never let go. But Jennifer raised her hand for quiet. "Before we celebrate," she said, "I have something to say about Ishat." Everyone grew silent, expecting Jennifer to demand punishment. Instead, she said, "Ishat betrayed me for gold. But she also risked her life to help save me. The old Ishat died in her greed, but a new Ishat was born in her shame." Mama Zainab nodded approvingly. "Sometimes," she said, "the person who has done wrong must suffer most to become right again." News came that Babajid had been arrested by the king's soldiers. Other families came forward with stories of his cruel deeds. All his wealth was taken away and given to those he had hurt. The village elders decided that Ishat would work for Jennifer's family for 1 year to make up for her crime. She accepted this punishment gratefully, knowing it could have been much worse. Days turned into weeks. Jennifer returned to her weaving, now teaching others her skills. Ishat worked hard, doing everything she could to help Jennifer's family. Sometimes, During quiet evenings, they would sit together in silence that felt a little less heavy each time. One day, Jennifer asked Ishaq to describe the sunset, just like when they were children. Both of them cried. As seasons changed, something else changed too. Jennifer began to trust Ishaq again, a little at a time. Not like before, this was a new kind of trust, stronger because it had been broken and carefully rebuilt. Ishaq learned that true wealth wasn't in gold or fine things. It was in the simple moments, sharing a meal, listening to birds, helping a friend. Years later, people still told the story of Ishaq and Jennifer. They told it to teach children about loyalty, greed, and forgiveness. Mama Zainab made sure everyone understood the deepest lesson: sometimes the greatest mistakes can lead to the most important learning. Ishaq herself would gather children under the baobab tree and tell them, all the gold in the world can't buy a true friend's heart. On the 10th anniversary of Jennifer's rescue, the two friends sat together under the mango tree where their story began. Jennifer was now a respected teacher, and Ishaq had become known for her generosity to those in need. Do you ever regret forgiving me? Ishaq asked softly. Jennifer took her friend's hand and smiled. Forgiveness was my choice, she said. Just like betrayal was yours. But look what grew from both, a deeper friendship than we ever had before. As the sun set on another day in their village, their story stood as a testament to the power of redemption and the strength of a heart wise enough to forgive. Thank you for always watching my videos. Do not forget to like, subscribe and share for more interesting videos like this.